Thank you for coming to the East Bay Burner Social. This is our February version of it. Hats off. Thank you so much, Moxie, for hosting us today.
We launched Moxie in October. We're still in renovation phase, and what we're building here is an art incubator. So similar to business incubators or tech incubators that you see, we provide similar infrastructure to assist artists building a large-scale industrial art to create sustainable businesses. And we have studio spaces for about 15 artists. And when Scott came and talked to us and told us that he was having Marco as a speaker, we said we'd love to host you guys here. Artists like Marco are extremely influential and inspirational to us. It's artists like Marco is the reason why we undertook this endeavor about a year ago and decided to launch Moxie. So I want to thank you all for coming. And if you want to know anything about Moxie, just find myself or any of the partners. We're happy to give you a tour, tell a little bit more about us. We have a sign-up sheet if you want more information, or if you're ever looking to volunteer on projects, learn skills, or have skills to share. We definitely could use your help. This is a community, and we need your support in any which way possible. And thank you for coming tonight.
So tonight, we're excited to have Marco Cochran and Julia Whitelaw tell us a little bit about the Bliss project. And we're going to do it in a cool style. We're going to have Katie Boynton, who's also an artist who has done a lot of work in the same space down at Treasure Island. She's did the Heartfulness project, and she's going to interview Marco and Julia about the Bliss project.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Boynton, and I've been working with Marco since 2010. And he is the reason that I've been able to expand as an artist in the last several years. This is Marco Cochran, and this is Julia Whitelaw.
Hello, everyone.
And they have been balancing each other in life and in art for many, many years now. And so they're both here tonight to talk about, first, Revolution, of course. That's the next sculpture that we're working on. But really, we want to tell you how it started. And the beginning of it is the Bliss Project. So, what is the Bliss Project?
So, on the surface, the Bliss Project is 3 sculptures. It started with Bliss Dance in 2010, and then there was Truth is Beauty in 2013, and now we're working on our evolution or revolution, however you want to say it, and that is coming, we hope, in 2015. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that specifically, but Katie's going to walk us through some questions, so we'll get to that soon.
Let's start by talking about your inspiration. What was your inspiration?
Okay, so I grew up here in the Bay Area, and my parents were hippies and activists, and they were doing that in Berkeley when I was growing up. And when I was 7, my close friend, who was 9, was over at my house playing, and a stranger pulled her off the street and raped her. And my mother told me about this, and in gory detail, and it really affected my life. And I saw that nothing was done about it. And I thought, I'm going to do something about this. So, I guess one of the first things that came up for me was, how could anyone do that? How could an adult do that to a kid? And it took me a long time to figure out how something like that could have happened. And I realized that, or it looked to me like he must not have seen her as a person. He must have been distracted by her being a female and a kid, or whatever he was attracted to, enough to not realize. So the work I do is facing the reality that women are really beautiful and very attractive to men, and that puts them at a level of danger that we as a society are not looking at. And I just talked to this girl, this woman now she's a woman. I just found her on Facebook last month. And I talked to her about what I was doing. And she had seen the work. And I asked her, do you know why I'm doing what I'm doing? And she said, yeah, I watched the speech, your Amsterdam speech, with my daughter. And I realized, I had opened with this story, that I was talking about her. And then she told me that she realized that it really had happened to her. That in reality, in fact, no one had talked to her about it again. And my parents were hippies and did group therapy, and her parents were hippies and did group therapy. And I'm kind of shocked that my parents and her parents never spoke to her about this when she was 9 years old. I mean, it's a very extreme experience. And hearing that, I'm realizing that this situation is happening way more than even I thought it was happening. And she wasn't even sure if it had happened to her. And that what I want to do with this work is get people to look at what's going on with women in this world. And it's terrifying to look at it. But it's the effect that it's having in the world is way bigger than I think we're aware of. And it's very important that we look at this and do something about it.
So how did you start expressing your inspiration? How'd you go about it?
Okay, so 27 years ago, I started sculpting women because I felt like oh yeah, right, okay. My first daughter was born, and what? So my first daughter was born, and I was thinking, my parents were artists, so this is not too crazy a thought. But I was thinking, I'd listened to Joseph Campbell, who said, follow your bliss and doors will open where you didn't know doors existed. And when I had my daughter, I thought, if this is true, if that statement is true, then I have to pursue it, no matter how risky it is. Because not pursuing it would be telling her that you basically have to compromise your life. And that's not the message I wanted to give to her. So I followed my favorite things, which is to make things and to look at women. And so I get it. The attraction is really, or the beauty is really strong and really powerful to me too. And it leads me directly into thinking that this is, since I can control myself, it's fine. But a lot of people don't control themselves, and we really need to focus on that. And so it helped me, I got to be able to focus on what I love the most and solve a problem that I think is really important to the, I mean, in the end, I think that I'll speak as a man. I don't think that we as men can solve the problems that are facing the world right now. We don't have the tools. We act the way we act, and we're doing what we're doing, and we really need help and a different perspective. And to ask women to help and to put their perspective out in the world when they're really not safe, and it's worse than we even imagine, then we have to solve this first, or else we're doomed. So let's get on it.
So, I just want to add something. So what he was doing was sculpting life-size and smaller in bronze, female figurative sculptures. And the models were not, they were people he met that he knew that had something to say. They all chose their own poses and their own expressions. He did not say, do this, do that. It was what they wanted to say when they felt safe. He spent hours and hours talking to them, meeting them, making sure they understood this was not, do you want to see my etchings? And then when they were comfortable and felt safe, he would say, "What do you want to say?" And they would say what they wanted to say. And one of the women that he met in this time period, this was about 2006, was Deja Solis. And Deja Solis is the model for Bliss Dance, Truth is Beauty, and Our Evolution. And I think that there was just a particular connection with Deja, who was just willing to express feminine energy and not hold back. She just what was her goal in life was to bring the goddess into the world. So there was something happening where he was doing all these sculptures, but it was hard to get anyone to see them. And then in 2007, you went to Burning Man, and what happened there?
So I had this idea that if there was more female nudity in the world that was not sexual based, that it would change the energy between men and women. And I went to Burning Man and I was like, oh my God, there it is. It's totally true. It really does take the edge off. It really is a different feeling. It's something you have to you have to experience it to understand it. You can't just talk about it. And so I thought, maybe my work would be understood here. So I came back in 2009 to put up the mom sculpture, Laura Kimpton. And first I thought, what a dumb thing this mom sculpture is. It just says mom. It's like, okay, but I know she's a friend, so I'll help her do it. And then we sat down and she said, we're really doing the same thing. I'm just saying it with a word. But what's happening is people are thinking of their moms. And I was like, oh my God, it's true. Got the full hit of how it really did work. It worked the same. And I was like, okay. And it got me thinking about what I want to do. And so I went out and altered my consciousness on Thursday, stepped back from Opulent Temple to about 1 o'clock right where Bliss actually ended up, and saw the whole thing done. I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a lot of work. And it was a lot of work. It was, crazy. It was ridiculous. Yeah?
Why Bliss first?
Oh, Bliss. The reason why I did Bliss first, and this was kind of cosmic too. I had put a video of just the clay sculpture being done on YouTube, just from an armature to finished sculpture. And it got 3 million hits. And I thought, wow, who cares about sculpture? And nudity, who cares? You can get nudity anywhere on the internet. You don't need to go to YouTube for it. So anyway, when I thought of this structure, I thought, well, clearly the universe is saying that this is the sculpture to do. And I also felt like if there's one thing I want to say, if I have just one statement to talk about, when I asked women what they wanted to say, because I come from a feminist background, and there was basically a war happening between men and women when I was growing up. And it was about women fighting to be heard. And I wanted to know, if you could be heard, what would you say? And in most cases, one of the most important things that women wanted to say was, I just want to dance. Really enjoy the moment. And there's no space for this in the world. It has no value. And so I thought, okay, this really does say it. And it says it in it's like the typical aspect that's missing in a man's life, probably not so much anymore, but that, like, when you're on your deathbed, you go, shit, I wish I had enjoyed some of the time in my life. And if you've been in a relationship, your wife was probably saying, let's have some fun once in a while. It's like, no, I need $1 million, and then we can have fun. So I thought that statement of Bliss Dance, just going, I'm going for it. And also, she was She had been raped for her first sexual experience, which is just wonderful and standard in this culture, and I really hope we can solve that. And she was saying, I'm going to dance anyway. I'm going to bust it on this dance floor, even though it draws this type of dangerous energy towards me. And she did it with such gusto that she could actually keep a space around her. And she was doing that for Bliss Dance. And I always thought it's kind of crazy to dance in the face of violence. I mean, who's going to say that? And then who's the one who did Vagina Monologues? Eve Ensler did the Billion Rising and said, let's dance in the face of violence. And I go, okay, good. I'm not crazy. That is a reasonable feminine thing to do. And it really is a powerful thing. And that's what happens when women are safe. And that is an energy that we are all starving for. And it's so wonderful when it's there. And when you're a Burning Man, it is there.
All right, so we built Bliss Dance. It was a lot of work. No joke. But we decided to keep going. And why, Marco? Why? Why did we decide to keep going?
I'm into that one. So, one of the reasons we kept going is because the story wasn't finished. And we got back from Burning Man in 2010, and all jazzed, let's do the next sculpture. And the next sculpture was Truth is Beauty. And Truth is Beauty, again, is Deja. And in this sculpture, she was not outwardly expressing herself to the world. She was expressing her own self-acceptance, because believe it or not, just like any woman, she's 6 feet tall and beautiful, but she still, because of the way women are driven and portrayed, she had doubts about her own self. And she just hunched down and spent her whole life trying to pretend she was small because she was too tall. And in the moment that she did that sculpture, she decided that she was just going to be tall. She was just going to be herself and love herself and not try to change herself to fit in. And she got up on her tiptoes and put her arms over her head, and that was her expression. So we chose that one as the next one. And we brought it in 2011, just the torso, and everyone got to climb on it. And then, that was awesome. But then we did nothing for a year. And then we didn't have the energy to keep going, and did people really want it? And then really in 2013 I was in a yoga class, and I decided, I just had this, they said set your intention, and I just had this flash, we need to finish Truth is Beauty this year. So I called Marco, and I submitted a grant application, and I called Marco and I told him, you're doing Truth is Beauty, and this time we're going to talk about what the sculptures are about. Because for Bliss Dance, we just put her up. We didn't tell the story, we didn't tell anyone what it meant, and people got it, but I just decided you need to tell the story. What's the inspiration? What do these sculptures mean? And then we need to do more. We need to get active. We need to have an awareness campaign. Like, we need to start talking. We need you to start talking. We need men to start talking to other men about how important this is. And he said yes, luckily, because I had already committed him. Right, balance. So we did it, and we got Katie, and she got all the volunteers, and we just went full bore, and we made it to Burning Man 2013. And there we added a Together We Stand campaign. I don't know how many of you got those wristbands. Marco's still wearing his. And basically we handed out about 10,000 wristbands. Around the sculpture it said, what would the world be like if women were safe? And it said it in as many languages that Google could translate to. We think. We don't know, because we didn't speak Czech. But then we handed out these wristbands, and Marco, what were you asking people? And what were we asking people?
So I was walking out on the playa. We'd already installed the sculpture, and I knew these wristbands were going out, and I just went for a walk. And, okay, what are we going to say? And it just came again. I'm taking active responsibility for the safety of my sisters on the playa. So I wrote this down. I was like, okay, I think that's it. Again, it just came, which is, I depend on that a lot. It's just got to come. And it was really fun and interesting to get people to look at that and say, this is not just the thing. You need to actually do something when you're wearing this. So this means that, like for me, this is something I've been thinking about my whole life. But most of the time, men don't talk about it. Most of the time, nobody talks about this, actually. So I didn't know how many men cared about this. How many of us thought about it? And I thought, well, if I don't know, then how could women possibly know if anybody's backing them up? So this was a way of connecting the group and saying, I do care about this. So you could see other people going, yeah, this is not okay with me. And hopefully we can do more and more of that.
Right. Yeah. So it wasn't just what's happening. It wasn't just swag, is the point is. Yeah. It had something to go with it, which is important, I think, because we all get a lot of swag out there now. So the next one is what we're here to talk about tonight is our evolution or revolution, however you choose to say it, and we're going to tell you the inspiration behind that.
So I'll start. You can finish. So our evolution is the third part in the story, and
Who named it?
Me, but that's okay. So the idea is that in our evolution or revolution, which is it? Is it our evolution or is it a revolution? There, Deja she's just standing in kind of like what you would call mountain pose. We didn't actually realize it back at the time that we chose the sculpture, and also Marco hadn't even been to Burning Man yet. She's actually in the pose of the man, which is going to be interesting when the man burns and she's still standing on the playa.
Right.
And that was not intentional, actually. We just realized it last year. We turned around and we said, oh my God, that's going to be fun. So in our evolution or revolution, Deja is just standing, just present, not having to respond to the world, not having to respond to herself, just being, and just being present in the moment and expressing that. Like it's safe for her to just be and breathe. And that's the third part of the story, a time when we can all just do that without expectations, without anything, you know. So we're bringing some surprises, and we're not going to tell you about them, but Marco's going to talk a little bit more.
So the first two sculptures are very dynamic and active, and I wanted to close it out with just a simple, you don't need to do anything to be worthy of being here on this planet. You can just be present. Because we're all driven more than enough. And I didn't want to ratchet it up to some level of insanity. I just wanted to end with like, boom, just be here. That's enough.
Okay, so I'll tell you. We're just saying. It's just a thought.
20 years.
So, one of the things, I'll tell you about one of the things since you're all here tonight, a special thing that we're doing is there's not going to be just Revolution this year. There's going to be somewhere between 8 and 10 smaller, life-size sculptures of women who have been instrumental. For example, Katie. And Christy is here, and Jenny is here, and some other women here in the audience who have been in the crew, or on the crew for a long time, all doing their own version of just being present. And they will be on the playa, that's all I'm going to say. And there are also some interesting special effects that we're working on, which may or may not happen, depending on whether we raise enough money. So, which is the next part. And then we're going to take questions.
Safe spaces.
Oh, safe spaces. Oh, yeah. So the other part of that is, so we had the Together We Stand wristbands started and asking anyone who wore one to agree to take active responsibility for the safety of their sisters on the playa. Well, this year we're expanding that. And it's not just women, it's men, it's anyone. We're asking camps who are interested in co-creating this piece with us to basically agree, if they want to agree to host a safe space in their camp. And what you would get is an art piece designed by Marco that is going to be like a lighthouse with, it's a 20-foot tall structure. Unfortunately, we don't have a picture of it, but if anyone's interested, you could let us know. And what you would be doing if you agree to host and have a lighthouse in your camp is saying, this camp here is agreeing to be a safe space. And that means whatever you as a camp dehydrated or lost or feeling unsafe, and your light is on, you'll have the ability to turn it off. But if your light is on, that means you're welcoming. This camp is welcoming. And we would love to see like a twinkling of these lighthouses sprinkled throughout the playa.
And this is around the just recognizing that it is in fact not safe for women to be out there and in the world. And men too. Yes, that's true. And just to set up, I hope we can do this in society too. We recognize that this is something that happens a lot. And we need to set up spaces where we recognize that it's happening, where people can get help with it, or just a place where we recognize that we are not going to do this. Like, we're defining this area where you're not going to be harassed in this way. This is a safe space. And hopefully we can expand those safe spaces to be more and more. And then if people want to have unsafe spaces, they can define those. And you can walk in there on your own accord. But I think we need to, hopefully this will help in creating and recognizing this is just part of the way it is. And we need to do something about it.
And also it's sort of, we hope, going to be a legacy. We hope it would be a legacy of the Bliss Project, because the Bliss Project is going to be done with our Revolution. It's the last sculpture, but perhaps these safe spaces, if you're a camp that wants to host one, you'll have this. You can just bring it back every year to your camp, and hopefully it'll just live on. So
here's the big question. How can you guys get involved with our evolution?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's me again. So, well, we're fundraising, of course, and we have somewhere, don't we? We have little cards. We're fiscally sponsored, which means that when you make a donation, it's tax deductible to the extent allowable by law. And we go through Fractured Atlas, and there's a particular website address that we have handouts here, or little cards. Or if you just ask any of us or go to our website or our Facebook page, we can get you that information. Or it's actually on there. The other way you can help is volunteer. And for that, you contact Katie here, who's our volunteer coordinator extraordinaire. And we need lots of volunteers.
And Mayor of Blissville.
And Mayor of Blissville. And the third way you can help is if you're interested at all in being a camp that hosts a safe space, then you let us know. And we'll talk about it.
And it seemed like that was a little vague about what the camps are, what safe space is. And I think she came up with, this camp is a safe space. What do you need?
Yeah.
It's like that simple.
Right.
I was imagining it was something like, we'll treat you like a 5-year-old. But I think that's good. What do you need?
Right. So, yeah, just like, that's what it means. If someone, you ask them, okay, what do you need if they wander into your camp? It's not, there's no rules, there's no set anything. It's just, if you come here, you've got shelter from the storm, whatever your storm is.
All right, so we want to open it up to some questions. Are there any questions out there? Yes.
First of all, thank you. My primary community is primarily all about consent and discussion and safety and more consent and more discussion and more safety. So I'm signing us up for Lighthouse. We have our big camp meeting, first meeting on Wednesday. But I would love to talk with you. I want to be the first. We are Black Rock Sock, the School of Consensual Kink. It's a women-owned, women-run educational camp. It's not a play space. It's all about classes, conversation, discussion, safety, learning how to do this well and talk about it. And I want to be the first to say thank you, and yes, we are a safe space.
Wonderful.
Many of you may or may not know that Burning Man only gives a very small percentage of what you actually need to build a sculpture. We are in the grant process right now. We've passed the letter of intent stage, and we hope to get a grant. Even if we just bring the sculpture, we need to raise a whole lot of money. Even if we,
you say?
dare I say? Well, okay. Around about $200,000 without the special effects that we're talking about, without the special add-ons. So it's a lot of money. Burning Man is not going to give us anywhere near that. And that's actually after the sculpture, we've been working on it since last year. So it was halfway done before we even started this year. So if you can imagine the budget.
That's $400,000.
And that's volunteer labor. And yeah.
No, that's not right. That's
Yeah.
not labor.
That's not labor.
cost.
Yeah. So we could use donations whether or not we can move forward with the special effects. We hope that we can, and that's all technology based, whether we can or not, and fundraising.
Yeah, what are we going to do after Burning Man?
Yay! Isn't Burning Man Disneyland?
What do we do with the sculptures afterwards?
So, Bliss Dance is on Treasure Island, as you may or may not have seen. Truth is Beauty may be appearing soon in a city near you. We're working on that. And we don't know where our evolution will go. We're open to, we'd like them to be placed in public spaces, not in private spaces, so that everyone can continue to enjoy them. That's our goal.
But then what?
Well, why don't you do your then what?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I thought we were going to do your then what?
Oh, okay, all right. I'm talking too much. After Burning Man, basically we want to take the idea, the sort of the activism part of the campaign that we started, and bring that out into the default world, whatever you want to call it. Basically, my goal is to take Marco and put him in front of men and have him talk to them about aspirational goals about how men need to take responsibility for this issue. And, Obama sort of jumped the gun on us a little bit there, which is great. It's great that he started talking about it. He's got this public awareness campaign now, but it's not enough. We need more on the ground work. So we want to start a nonprofit that focuses on the activism part of the Bliss Project. So that's one thing we're going to be doing. And then Marco has his thing.
Okay, mine is oh God. Okay, the 2-minute version. Okay, real 2 minutes?
Real 2 minutes.
Okay, so we can save the world. I think that, let's see, 2 minutes. Okay. Imagine, they're tripping in the 60s, and it's like, what we need to do is feed everybody. What we need to do is communicate. We need to be able to communicate. We need to be able to move resources around. And none of that was true. It's all true now. We have everything we need. We have everything we need in the Bay Area. What we need is two things. We need to focus. We need women to direct 50% of the focus. In fact, we need to work together to create a focus of where humanity puts its resources. Because men do pretty much the same thing every time, which is mostly defense. It's just how we roll. I don't think there's anything we can do about that. I don't know why you even like us, but you do. And the other one is to create focus. to create a focal point for us to do this work as a group in the whole Bay Area. And I'm working on creating a space where that focus can happen and where we can make a clear definition where I think the people who go to Burning Man, we don't even need anybody's help. We can solve poverty and access to clean water and all the stuff that really pisses us off and bums us out. We can do it ourselves if we work together. And I think we will.
There you go. That was 2 minutes.
There we go. That was good job. You nailed it. All right. Is there any more questions? Okay.
Have you talked with the city of Reno for placement of these sculptures?
We have talked to not the city of Reno, but to other certain entities in the city of Reno, and they don't have enough money to even do the installation. So we could do a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo to self-fund that. But Bliss Dance is actually already installed, and Truth is Beauty, we're, like I said, hopefully we're negotiating with the city near you soon, hopefully. So, it will happen. But we have talked to Reno.
When's the next bill day?
Every day.
Tomorrow.
Where are you guys?
Oh, we're located on Treasure Island. That's where our studio is. So nice halfway point between Oakland and San Francisco. Yes, we are located in Building 180 next to the SF Winery. You can see it on the building, SF Winery. We are in the hangar to the right of it. Right when you come down that, yeah.
He asked if we knew anyone at Island Creative, which we know of them, but there weren't any, whether anyone was working on the project from there, and no one is, but he's going to connect us.
There's a petition going out from one of the when you're out on the playa, the pregnant sculpture. This is this woman has put a petition out to put our revolution on one of the tunnels of Doyle Drive, and I think it's a great idea for her to stand there and look at the water. And so it's it got sent out before. The reason why we're a little hesitant, it got sent out before we knew about it, and now we're sort of find out yesterday that this is happening. So we're a little like, okay, I guess it's happening. And yeah, please do sign it. We need like hundreds of, I don't know if we even know, at least 100,000, but I don't even know if this is a...
Yep.
Anyway, it would be fun. Just sign it. It couldn't hurt. Yeah, it couldn't hurt. It would be a great placement, and yeah.
Bring her home from the playa?
Maybe call that whole park a safe space or something wonderful.
We were just asked whether we've been working with women in tech groups who are working on similar issues and creating safe spaces. And we have not, but we would love to, so if you are a part of one or know anyone who is, please connect us.
Yeah, these are basically, what I noticed in the 60s was that people get into a tendency to, when they're fighting for something, to get all set in the war and forget what they're fighting for. And the sculptures I did were meant to remind everybody what we're fighting for, and that it is a beautiful thing and a positive thing, and that safety brings, to focus on the positive, focus on what we want, not on what we don't want.
All right. So again, the way to get involved is either to donate or to sign up by contacting me. There are cards that have been passed out, but we'll have extras towards the end. And we'll be around here. If you have more questions that you want to ask us, you can feel free to approach us and talk to us more about any of the projects.
And if you can think of anything that would help, out in the world, we certainly haven't thought of everything, and I think we can all agree that this is something important. And if you have a great idea, please, we'd love to collaborate.
A lot of the stuff that we did last year were ideas from volunteers, so who just thought, oh, I would love to see, in connection with this sculpture, I would love to see this happen, and we said, okay, do it. So, just join the crew and make your idea part of it. All right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you so much, Marco and the crew, for coming out all the way to Moxie. And thank you, Moxie, for hosting us tonight. We'll see you in next month on the 20th. Please mingle.
I am spiraling, I am art, I am accomplishing, I am healing, I am beauty, I am elegance, I am pure, I am flowing.